because what we're doing is that we're trying to build that human connection, and what we do is we actually use a particular case study of a large organization, and we go through the politics.
There's certain platforms, and I know this from personal experience, I'm sure your clients do too, like Facebook. I've spent a ton of time, energy, and effort cultivating audiences on a few Facebook pages. One of them for my online students, where they have to apply. And he's written not one, not two, but 3 best-selling books on how to sell through social media. LinkedIn has said he's one of the top 10 sales experts in the world in online selling.
But I think what happened was that when Elon Musk changed Twitter or X, the fact that you needed to pay for it, everybody across the board said, okay, we're going to charge. I was on a call yesterday, and the person said to me, we've got no pipeline, nothing. We can't generate it. There's nothing that we can do. And I've had people say to me, yeah, but I'm sharing value. I said, it's a brochure you're sharing.
It's the holy grail of selling. Everyone wants it. Everyone dreams of it. Posting ideas, pictures, information about your products, your services on Facebook, Twitter, X, LinkedIn, and having sales come to you. We've all dreamed about it. We've heard about it. We've watched the Gary Vaynerchuk YouTubes, and yet for most of us, it slips through our fingers. Well, I'm very happy today to have one of the most world-renowned experts on social selling. This is what he's done. He's written not one, not two, but 3 best-selling books on how to sell through social media. LinkedIn has said he's one of the top 10 sales experts in the world in online selling. He's been ranked number 1 by Analytica as one of the most influential social selling experts. He is all over the place. He walks the talk, and we're going to learn fantastic lessons today on what we can do to do a better job of selling in our own business. I'm very excited to introduce our guest today, Tim Hughes. Tim, thanks for joining us.
Hi, TJ. It's really exciting to be here.
Our audience is excited about having you as well. So let's dive right in. I'm sure I'm not alone where every couple of years since about 2006, I get all excited. I watch a Gary Vaynerchuk video, and I think I'm going to be great at this social media selling. And I do a bunch of tweets, or I start a podcast, or I start a new series where I go live on Facebook every day. And a month or two later, I'm like, nothing much is happening. Guess it doesn't work. And forget about it. I've been guilty of that. I know a lot of your clients have done that. What's the real difference between people who think about it, which is everyone, people who start, which is, 90% of the world, and people who all go all the way through the funnel and make something meaningful happen to their business, their bottom line, and their customers?
I think that I love Gary. I think he's brilliant, and the advice that he gives is excellent. I think that the mistake that most people make is that they think that social media is the same as the world has always been. So, for example, what's happened is that we've always had what has been called interrupt marketing, which is there's an advert, it interrupts you, and there's a pitch. Cold calling is there's an interruption and I pitch, and email marketing is I interrupt you and I pitch. And people seem to think that what we do with social media is that they come to social media, you're going to interrupt me and I pitch, and it doesn't work like that. And what Gary says, and he's very true about that, is it's social media. So we have to understand that being on social media, here we are talking. I mean, you're just you and your team are just amazing experts at the way that you're able to broadcast using this technology, and it's amazing how we can have that at our fingertips. But what we're not doing is we're not going on and saying, here's my product, buy it. What we're doing is we're having a conversation and we're sharing insights, and that's the thing that people are wanting. Put yourself in the buyer's shoes. The buyer is going onto social media because they may have a problem. They may not know what the problem is. And they're looking for a solution. They're not, if they want to read a brochure, they'll go to your website. what they're looking for is someone that's going to help them. So they're looking for an expert. So basically, as I say, the mistake that everybody makes is that they think, I need to go onto social media and sell stuff. The more you try and sell on social media, the worse the outcome will be.
And we should know, Tim's been talking to me for a while now. He didn't say, and everyone's got to go buy my book, buy my book. He's had a conversation to be helpful to you and to me. And that being sociable brings out reciprocity. And now I want to reciprocate. So I naturally want to talk about and bring people's attention to his latest book, which is Social Selling: Techniques to Influence Buyers and Changemakers, the second edition, which you can buy right now. Thank you very much for holding it up. See, that's social and organic. Someone asked you about it. You didn't just, I didn't invite you on to talk about some, Facebook trend, and then you just pulled this up when I wanted your thoughts on a scandal of Mark Zuckerberg media. When Gary Vaynerchuk started, he famously just did a 15-minute wine show, for the most part, unedited, live. And then he says the point everyone always forgets is, he spent 15 minutes talking about wine, but then he would spend from 8 p.m. until 4 a.m. answering people's questions in chat rooms about what kind of wine should I have with fish. It was the long, hard work that he put in. A lot has changed since then, and which is presumably why you have second editions of your book and multiple books. What is the single biggest thing going on right now in social media that you think is important for a lot of our audience members who are entrepreneurs, authors, experts, online coaches, online trainers?
I think that the big change took place during COVID, which is where before COVID, we knew that there were platforms like this, but we didn't necessarily use them. We knew that there was social media, but we kind of went there. Now what happens is that, 62% of the world's population is on social media. So pretty much the whole of the if you're in the States or in the UK, every quarter, but there'll be like 700 million people in India. Will be joining. It is just so massive, and the average person now spends 2 hours 20 minutes a day on social media. So the fact of the matter is, this isn't just about your buyers. Your buyers are on social media. There's no argument about it. But your employees are on social media. Your future employees are on social media. Your investors are on social media, and your future investors on social media. So if you're looking to recruit, you're looking for investment, or you're looking to sell stuff, you have to be on social media. It's not a nice to have anymore. It has to be your most important priority, and that's the massive change that's taken place.
Now, Tim, the reception I get from so many friends, clients, customers is that social media is just so hard. If you're not already famous like Kim Kardashian or a 19-year-old computer whiz kid, it's not going to work. And you're just going to start and you're going to spend 40 hours a week for 3 months and then write it off. And you would have been better off just taking that money and putting it in an index fund. I know you've had a lot of success stories. Walk us through some of your success stories that you're proudest of people who've taken your advice. Maybe were not successful before, but used your strategies and went on to actually sell a lot through social media.
Yeah, we've got clients that do multi-million-dollar deals on social media. And the reason for that, first and foremost, is that they position themselves differently. So a lot of people, as I said earlier on, they think this is all about interruption, and it's not. It's about, if we take any social media platform, your profile is available to everybody that can see it. And in fact, everybody in that social media platform will be walking across or walking in front of that every single day. So if we take LinkedIn, for example, there's 1 billion people on LinkedIn. So 1 billion people can walk in front of your shop profile every single day. And what you want is for people to go, that's interesting. What's that? I need to look at that further. And the problem is that most people set themselves up to look exactly the same as everybody else. So everyone just walks past. Or what they do is that they immediately start selling, saying, here's, and everybody goes to the market and says exactly the same thing: buy my product because we're great. And so we're in this situation where buyers just walk on by because they've got the opportunity of an infinite amount of data or an infinite amount of profiles. And if we don't find what we're searching for, we'll either carry on searching or we'll look somewhere else. So that's the big issue that people have, is that they take old thinking and position themselves on a new platform using that old thinking, and it just doesn't work.
Question, Tim, you don't need me butting in. I'll actually exit the stage a minute and let you talk to Tim directly. And
hello,
Tim,
Elizabeth, by the way.
What's that?
So I'm just saying hello to Elizabeth Walker on LinkedIn.
Great, he's being sociable. Okay, is that really the biggest problem most people have? Is they're just too quick to say, "Well, buy my product." Buy my product.
Yes. So the thing that you need to understand with social media is that it's the ability to have conversations, and what we need to be thinking about is what am I going to do? What am I going to do is going to create a conversation. So if you take the classic way that people use content, what people do is that they use content as a way to broadcast. So this is the introduction, which is where you say, you go to social media and you put up a piece of content and say, this is my company, these are my products, and we're great. Come and buy from us. And of course, nobody buys like that anymore. We haven't done that for 10 years. Whereas if you put up an article that says, here is some research that we've done, and in the research that we've done, so for example, 6 Sense is a company that does a lot of research, and they've done some research and found that 70% that when people are looking at B2B enterprise, what they're looking at is that they will actually go 70% of the way through the buying process before they contact a salesperson. Now, what they've done is that they just went and said, this is the research and this is the finding that we've had. That caused a conversation, because some people will say, well, I don't believe that. Other people will say, like me, will say, I actually think it's 80%. But the fact is that they're having a conversation. And then what you're able to do is you need to have the skill to be able to harvest that conversation. So whenever anybody comes to your content, and for example,
I'm hearing you say harvest the conversation.
Yes.
Walk us through all that means.
Okay, so Elizabeth Walker, use that as an example. Elizabeth has said hello all. She's on LinkedIn. What we then have is that she's actually said, I have a digital resonance with this piece of content. So I have an opportunity now to go back to Elizabeth and say, thank you for watching the TJ Walker program. And if I'm not connected to her, can we connect? And we can do this on any.
And I should point out, I don't believe she's any relation of mine, even though we have the same last name. I'm not recognizing the name or the face.
But the thing is
that
it doesn't matter what social media platform it's on. The fact that they've actually, if someone's liked or commented, what we're able to do is actually go through a process of saying, thanks, Elizabeth, for coming on the TJ Walker show and for mentioning and saying hello, or may we connect? Now, that's a far better proposition for me to go to Elizabeth. She's more likely to connect than for me to go to Elizabeth and say, you came on the TJ Walker show. We've got this list of products and services. Which one do you want to buy? She'll just block me.
Mm-hmm.
So what we're doing is that we're using social as this mechanism to have, and should be seen as a mechanism to have a conversation. And if we approach things in a non-salesy way, now I'm not telling people that we shouldn't be selling, but we all know that when salespeople come to us, we get a flight or fight reaction. Usually we run in the opposite direction. And so what we're doing is that we're using social as a way of getting that conversation. We're not being salesy. And maybe what I'll do is I'll go through a process of actually getting that person to have a conversation, and it may be we have a Zoom or a Teams call. And so at that point, you know what you've done is you've taken something that's social all the way through to actually maybe having a call with somebody and having a meeting with somebody.
Just done. She says, if my profile is a billboard and I want to grab people to my link, what are the best hook lines to get people to click? And yes, harvest is a great term. Bring the conversation to the surface.
So it's a great question, Elizabeth. So the thing that we're looking for on social media is humans. It's all about human to human. We're not chatbots or anything like this. It's a human to human connection. And for example, one of the things that we do is that we try and find commonality. So for example, TJ it's a great example of his forming commonality with me, which is the fact that he said that his name was Tim. Because immediately what I do is, if I know there's other Tims, immediately I feel drawn to other Tims. It's something that we have as Tims. And we start going through that process of knowing, liking, and trusting somebody. So I know and like and trust TJ more because I now know his name is Tim. So one of the things that we can do, Elizabeth, is that your summary title on your LinkedIn profile is the most visible thing about you. And this is the same on whether it's on X or whether it's on Instagram or whatever. You've got a piece which talks about yourself. This shouldn't be about your products and services. It's about you, because you are ultimately the person that owns that social media account. We're not interested in your company. We're not interested in your products. We're interested in you as a human being. And what you need to do is we're trying to get you over as a person of interest. So for example, you might say that you're a marathon runner, or you're a hockey player, or you're an ice hockey fan, or whatever it is. Because what we're doing is that we're trying to build that human connection. My partner, for example, she used to be a rower. So she talks about the fact that she used to row. If you come to my LinkedIn profile, and please, you can come along and look at my LinkedIn profile. You'll see that I have a summary title is very different from anybody else. And the whole point of that is to start a conversation. You need to be making sure that your social media platforms
and
are
Tim,
working hard for you.
I will point out, we're going to show everyone your LinkedIn profile
Okay.
in just a little while.
Well,
but I know
that's
one of
amazing.
your main tenets is every social media platform is a little different. You have to know why people are there and respect that. At the moment, Amazon is nice enough to let us go live right on Amazon, and we're happy to be a part of the Amazon community. People come to Amazon for different reasons than going to Facebook. Typically, if they're on Amazon, they're ready to buy. Not only do they have their credit card out, it's already programmed into Amazon, and they can click. With one click, they can buy it. So I want to do a segment now where we often invite our guest to do the free pitch. And what I mean by that is, you don't have to wait for me to ask a smart question. I might just ask dumb questions. We want you to pitch. Give your best pitch, because you're a communication expert and you're good at writing nice headlines and posts and pictures and images for social media. But good old-fashioned speaking to people is often the most effective way to really connect and be social. Because when you think of socializing in the real world, you think of talking to people one-on-one. So what I want to do right now is just give you 3 minutes, a minute for you to tell people how they're going to benefit from each one of your books, and hold it up. We're here on Amazon. The people who are on Amazon are ready to buy. They're looking to buy. No fumbling around for the credit card or cash or pennies or change. One click and they can get it. So I'm going to exit right now for about 3 minutes and ask you to pitch your product. When we come back, I'm going to ask you to tell us what you were doing and why you were hitting certain things. We're actually going to dissect your pitch so people can learn how to improve their own pitch. Okay, you've got 3 minutes starting now.
Thanks, TJ. So this is my second edition of my social selling book. The first edition came out in 2016, and what I wanted to do at that time was pour everything in my head that I knew about social selling into it. I've been involved in a number of rollouts of social selling, and it was um, and it was all of the information I had. So I updated it, and it came out in 2022. And so what I've done is I've taken all the learnings that we've done within my company over the last 8 years and actually put that in here. I've also got 15 people that I know that are doing social well to actually write a small piece to talk about that. So, for example, there's a headhunter that explains how you can use LinkedIn to get a job. We've talked about how you can get employees to actually use it to increase the visibility of your company. So that's what the book's about. What is social selling? Well, we have a definition of it, which is it's about using your presence and behavior on social media to build influence, make connections, grow relationships and trust, which lead to conversation and commercial interaction. Most people that we talk to are looking for pipeline, and especially at this time, pipeline is really difficult to get hold of. We've been running a benchmark. Everything that we do is based on data. It's not my opinion. We've been running a benchmark now for over a year. And we've got sales development reps, so SDRs, who are going out and getting meetings. And the average one of them is getting 10 meetings a week. The really good ones are getting 25. That's exponential compared to something like cold calling or using email or going to events. So, we're looking for organizations, and, we've now got customers like Oracle and Salesforce, and we're looking for organizations from small to big, where we can implement our methodology, where we know that we will get results. As I said to you, said earlier on, people are getting multi-million-dollar deals by using our methodology. My other book is about Smarketing, is about bringing together sales and marketing teams. How can we get sales and marketing teams to work closer together? Now, if I had written that probably last week, I probably would have called it RevOps or something like that, which is the term that's generally used. But the Smarketing book is there about bringing sales and marketing teams, and what we do is we actually use a particular case study of a large organization, and we go through the politics and some of the things, that the learnings, and some of the things that you need to look out for, the measures, the governance, and that sort of stuff, as well as looking at a very basic area around account-based marketing and things like that. So the two books, one is the Social Selling Techniques to Influence Buyers and Changemakers, and the other one is Smarketing, How to Achieve Competitive Advantage Through Blended Sales and Marketing. Do you want to bring me back, TJ? Is that enough?
Wow. That was a master class in sales. First of all, congratulations, because what I just did to you, most people would be too scared to do. Like, I didn't prepare to give a speech today. It's just talking. It's really just being social and sharing. And so many people tell themselves that it's different. Oh, I don't want to be, giving a speech on social media, broadcast on 8 platforms and live. That's hard. It's just talking. It's just sharing. Now, let's step back behind the scenes in just a moment. And again, special thanks to Amazon letting us go live and making Tim's great books available to everyone. If you heard anything there that was interesting or intriguing, you can go ahead and buy the book right now. You can look at the carousel, depending on whether you're on a big computer or a laptop or a cell phone or a tablet. So Tim, take us behind the scenes. So you just gave what seemed spontaneous, fresh, conversational, off the top of your head, didn't sound memorized or canned, but you put real thought into how you talked about your book, because you presumably spent years with some of them writing it, rewriting it, packaging it, promoting it, and you had to take hundreds of thousands of words of ideas and condense it to 150 words. Tell us what you were consciously doing when giving those presentations a moment ago, putting a spotlight on your book.
What I wanted to do is make sure that the books feel accessible to people. And it's about trying to boil down, to use your phrase, about what is it actually about. Because yes, I spent a lot of time writing them, and really, what is it that what is it that people want today? In most cases, um, in all the organizations that we talk to, the number one thing they need is pipeline. 2 years ago, that wasn't the case. It was mainly closing the amount of deals that they needed to close. Now they're actually looking for pipeline. So
Mhm.
it's important to understand that I pick those words and I use that as a way of saying, if you want pipeline, this book will help you actually do that.
Mhm. Great. And how about the other books? Because I know with myself sometimes talking about older books I've written, you kind of forget about it. You can lose perspective, but you just went seamlessly right in to the others as well.
Yes, I mean the Smarketing book. I think that, I mean, even though that came out in 2018, even though it's seen as being old, it's still relevant. Because what I see on social media every day, the fact that sales and marketing can be warring parties, and the best way for the organizations to is well the teams to work together. And for me, it's still the book is still relevant. It's
Mhm.
still, we use a particular case study of a US software company, and we walk through what they did in a way of probably about 2 years, starting off with where they used to throw stones at each other over email,
Mhm.
to actually going to each of the meetings, and then understanding and talking in a common language, and going through that process of saying, and how are we going to measure this? And we go into a lot of detail, and there's we've actually got 3 authors on there. So Adam Gray and Hugo Witcher both have got great marketing experience, which they brought to the book,
Mhm.
which something that I wasn't able to bring, but it's still a relevant book today, even though it's a couple of years old.
Mhm. Tim, two-part question. What social media platform are you most excited about now, where you feel like it's the untapped opportunity, it's virgin territory, so to speak? And what would be your advice to let's say someone 20 years old, they're in school, they already know they want to be an entrepreneur, they just have dabbled a few things with friends on Facebook. Where would you urge that they just dive in? Because there's certain platforms, like, and I know this from personal experience, I'm sure your clients do too, like Facebook. I've spent a ton of time, energy, and effort cultivating audiences on a few Facebook pages. One of them for my online students, where they have to apply, they have to be accepted, they want to be there, they have to prove they're in a course. And we've got 25,000 people. They're very active in the courses. But when we post things and talk about even live sessions like this, it's 5 people sometimes seem like they get the message, because Facebook wants us to spend money on advertising to them. So I agree with a lot of people who say that that's a platform that is now sort of peaked, and they're in the extraction phase of getting as much money out of people. Are there other platforms that you're really excited about now? And again, to summarize, where would you advise someone who really is kind of starting from scratch to hop in if they were going to focus on one place?
If you want to focus on business, then LinkedIn would be the platform to go to. They're not. I agree with you that there's a term called pay to play, that Facebook is, they want you to pay money. And it's interesting what you're saying, because there are people that are using Facebook from an organic perspective, so not paying, but LinkedIn haven't reached that point where you have to, they're not expecting people necessarily to pay advertising money, but they probably are expecting you to pay, you need to use, well, with all social media platforms nowadays, you're generally having to pay. The day
Mhm.
of free access in social media, I think, is over. And you'd probably need to get the professional edition on LinkedIn, anyway, to
Walk
make
us
it.
through that. What does that really mean? Because people obviously know everyone's got their hand out, but how much of a difference does it make? because I have paid for stuff for LinkedIn before, but I find for my own business, I don't want the privilege of reaching out to thought leaders. I want them to come to me because I'm posting a lot of content, and that's worked for me. But am I, for example, losing a tremendous reach with my live streams, which I post almost every day on LinkedIn, go live, and I post typically 3 videos a day? Would I be getting 10 or 100 times the reach if I paid them $20 a day? What are the
I
thresholds that
don't.
are meaningful?
I think with LinkedIn, you're not with LinkedIn, you're not paying for. You don't pay for reach. What you're doing is that you're paying for the ability to connect to people.
Mhm.
And if you're a 20-year-old entrepreneur, which is the question, then what you want to do is actually connect to people, because what you're trying to do is actually broaden out your network. And you want, because the more people that you connect to, the more people are going to see your content. But I think what happened was that when Elon Musk changed Twitter or X, the fact that you needed to pay for it, everybody across the board said, okay, we're going to charge. And what LinkedIn have done now is that you can use a free edition of LinkedIn, but they've reduced the functionality so much that when we're training people, 5 years ago we would have told them to use the free edition of LinkedIn. We can't do that now. We have to tell them to use buy the professional edition.
And which platform is most meaningful for you for getting business? Is it LinkedIn?
LinkedIn from a business perspective. We use. I mean, I'm on all platforms. I think that you need to have a presence on LinkedIn for business, and then you need to have a think about one other, and that could be Instagram, it could be X, it could be TikTok, and then you need to, once you actually get used to those and you start mastering those, it's then about making sure that you're building more into your portfolio. But when you first start, as you say, if people are putting a lot of time and effort in and they're not getting a return, it seems a bit pointless saying that you need to go and put more and more effort in. You need to be getting the return on the first sort of platform that you're focusing on, first of all.
Makers, the second edition is out. Smarketing, how to achieve competitive advantage through blended sales and marketing, which you can see right there on screen as well as in the carousel. And finally, social selling techniques to influence buyers and change makers. Tim, we're not a political show, but how do you give guidance to clients for things like, a lot of people have gotten tremendous traction on TikTok in the last 3-4 years. And right now, the United States government is considering banning it. And
Yep.
TikTok has said, okay, we're not going to sell, we're just shutting it down.
Yep.
And I'm not going to get into the political rationale of whether that's good policy or not. I just want to know from a business strategy standpoint, how do you advise people to limit their risk, their platform risk? I mean, I won't bore you with the details, but I had YouTube remove one of my channels 10 years ago. And it was wildly painful, which is one reason why I'm streaming on 10 platforms today, is I don't want to be dependent on one platform. But how do you give people guidance for dealing with sort of geopolitical issues that TikTok is facing?
TikTok is a great platform because people come to it very different. They consume content in it very differently than from other platforms. And what they're doing is that they're looking for, if I want to fix a pipe in my house, say there's a pipe is leaking, I'll do two things. I'll either go to YouTube and search, or I'll go to TikTok and search. My partner's youngest son is a bike mechanic. He learned everything that he knows on how to fix a bike from YouTube. He's learned everything that he needs to know about fixing his flat from YouTube. And that's the way that he's what now, 29. That's what a 20-year-old person will do. They'll search on social media to find the answer. And TikTok is that place. In terms of
Is there some up and coming place that you're more excited about that maybe our audience, maybe I haven't heard of before? I mean, a couple of years ago, it seemed like Clubhouse was going to be the big thing. I never hear anyone talking about it anymore.
Yeah, we used Clubhouse for 3 months and then left it. It wasn't what we want. We found that our audience was on LinkedIn. There's lots of Twitter lookalike products like Threads, excuse me, and but you there's only so much time that you've got in the day, and you need to decide where you're going to focus your time, and you need to be making sure that you're getting return from the platforms that you're on. What I would say is that this isn't about learning lots of different platforms. This is about being social. If you understand what it means to be social, and which we've talked about so far in the show, you can take that to any platform, regardless of what the algorithm is doing or how the platform is built. As you said, all platforms are very slightly different, but the critical skill is the skill to be social.
Now, you just mentioned two critical things. You mentioned time, return on investment. How, when you're working with a client, an entrepreneur who is, let's say it's a small shop, they have a little less than $1 million in revenue, they're already doing 1 million things. How do you actually sit them down and help them structure? You're going to spend the first 20 minutes a day on social media, and you're going to expect zero return on investment for 5 months. And in month 6, you're going to expect how do you get them to set realistic expectations for return on investment? How are they actually defining it? And how are they working it into their daily workflow?
So there's two things that you should really be measuring on social media. One is the number of, from a sales perspective, one is the number of meetings that you're generating and the revenue that you create. With our social selling methodology, we will know that people can generate meetings within 3 weeks. So this is not like you've got to spend 6 months doing stuff. It's about just understanding what you need to be social. And as long as you're doing the right things, and you're not coming across, the worst thing that you can do is just go onto social media and say, here's my product, buy it. Here's my product, buy it, because people will just tune out. You need to go onto social media, and you need to share insight. Share the top write something like, what's the top 3 issues that your clients have right now? Because if someone reads that and they go, do you know, I have those 3 issues right now, and you have a good profile, they'll say, TJ, can you help me? You've just written the blog about it. Clearly, you know about this stuff. Clearly, you're an expert. So this isn't about selling. It's about helping people and giving them advice. And if they see you as an expert, they'll come back and ask you for more information.
Okay. Can you give us a case study of one of your most successful pieces of content you ever put out socially? I mean, I know for me personally, it's sometimes you're in a hurry, you didn't think, and it's almost just top ahead, something comes out, and that's what really resonates, as opposed to something you plotted and researched and thought about carefully and organized perfectly for 2 months. What piece of content, what message have you put out that generated results and maybe continues to generate results for you?
It's a great question, TJ, because we've done some research on what content works. And the best content that you can get that gets the most engagement is human content. And
I'm sorry, did you say humor?
Human content.
Human content. Okay.
Yes. So
what does that mean exactly, though?
Okay. So for example, I've just won a guitar. So I was in a competition and I've won a guitar. It's sitting in a case at the back there. So I basically put out a piece of content, nothing to do with my company, nothing to do with saying I've just won a guitar, and saying, has anybody else entered any competitions? And people go, wow, that's amazing, Tim. That's fantastic. Fancy winning a guitar. Isn't that awesome? Well, and isn't that cool, etc., etc. That's the thing that will get you engagement. Whereas if you go to there and say, I've got this great product, no one's interested. And so the content that always gets engagement is content about yourself. Because if you think about what social is about being human. It's about the connection that I have with TJ. It's the connection I have with Elizabeth, etc., etc. And so what you're doing is that what you want is people to say, "Oh, Tim Hughes, he's that guy that won that guitar," and he does. I think he does social selling as well. So there's nothing wrong in putting out pieces about how you can help people, how you solve their business issues. And so what you do is you go through this cadence of putting out different content on different days, different types of content. But ultimately, the ones that will get you the most engagement will be the human stuff. What you did at the weekend. This is me winning the marathon. I did my best time. This is me at the hockey game. This is me with the kids. My
And how do you balance being human and being real and being non-salesy with just being too self-indulgent? Here's what I had for lunch. Here's the cool vacation I'm on. Because a lot of people, I think, struggle with that, and they're turned off by the person. Here I am, in front of my Lambo and things like that. So how do you juggle that?
Well, what you need to be is you need to be the person that you are. You need to be the authentic self. If you don't have a Lamborghini, then you can't take a picture of yourself in front of one. And if you don't like that, then that's great, because what you need to do is you need to be putting out the content that you think is right. And that may be the fact that you're a mum, or it may be the fact that you're a dad. It may be the fact that you're an ultra athlete. But at the end of the day, you are what you are. And your unique selling point is that, the fact that you like traveling, or the fact that you like cooking or making bread. Because what will happen is that you'll find other people that say, I'm a mum as well. And I've got all of these issues, or I'm a dad and I'm a single dad, or and what will happen is that you'll then generate conversations, or you'll get people saying, I'd love to be an ultra runner, but I'm only doing 5K at the moment. But this is how you build that connection and that digital bridge on social media from buyer and seller through being you and yourself. Yes, you can put out content about how you're solving business issues, but you need to put out content which is human as well. And that will be the one that will get you the most engagement.
So how do you then apply a measurement looking for return on investment? Let's look at the example of you winning the guitar, and congratulations on winning the guitar. Do you track, okay, 6 months later, I see that post generated, 1,000 new people in, and 500 still stop by from time to time, and 3 of them booked meetings, and 2 of them became clients at 10K a month. Are you tracking it that way, or is it more just, hey, I put something out, it kind of expanded the whole pie, and in general, my audience is bigger. In general, I have more people asking for calls, sales calls and presentations, and in general, business is up. How do you try to quantify it?
Well, I would still go back to the fact that for me, first and foremost, it's getting some visibility out on social media is important, because if you're not visible, if you're not visible, you are invisible. And so the last thing you want is to be invisible in front of to your prospects or clients. The second thing is really about how do we convert that engagement that we've got into meetings. And it would be those meetings that I would then track. And then you're going through the normal sales process of how many of those turn into proposals and how many of that turn into business. But what you'll find is that the fact that you're constantly visible, if you think about in the past, if we were cold calling, how often could you actually call a customer? You couldn't call them every day, could you? Because they'd soon tell you to go away, probably. Mm-hmm. Probably in harsher terms. Whereas on social media, every day is like, here's a business issue that we can solve. This is something that I was on a call today, and this is what one of my customers said. I was on a call yesterday, and the person said to me, "We've got no pipeline. Nothing. We can't generate it. There's nothing that we can do. We've tried everything. And we've come to you and we found your book and we think that maybe you can help us. And so I didn't actually mention the person or the company, but that turned into a blog, because if they're suffering it, there must be lots of other people that are suffering it as well. And then I'll put that out and I'll see what will happen. But so I post on LinkedIn daily, because I want to be visible to my clients and I want to be top of mind for my clients as well.
I am going to ask you in a few minutes after we conclude our Amazon Live section to walk us through your posting schedule, because a lot of people want to know, and I think a lot of people are intimidated, and I don't mean to keep bringing him up, but people are intimidated by Gary Vaynerchuk, who says, well, you've got to do 289 pieces of content per day. When people hear that, and it's like, what window can I jump out of, is the response I think most people face. So I want to hear your content strategy, and we're going to go to your LinkedIn page, and you can walk us through some of that. But I can tell you, I think you're absolutely right in that I know from my own experience, the best prospect for me is someone who calls. And I say, well, how did you find out about me? And then they say, well, social media, the internet. I'm like, well, which one, what post, where? And they're like, I don't know. I just see you all the time everywhere.
Yeah.
That's when I know, okay, I've penetrated some mental consciousness there. And I know that there's credibility. I don't have to waste time on the call telling them I know stuff, because it's
yes.
already sunk in.
One of the best things that I like is when someone comes back and they said, and they quote a blog or they quote my book or something like that, because that they are, you haven't got to say, I'm an expert and I've been doing this for so many years and that, because they're already bought into your expertise.
Mm-hmm. So we're going to hear more about that in just a moment in part 2 of our interview. We're going to look at Tim's LinkedIn page and also get his predictions on what he's most excited about. I'm going to be asking him to give his assessment on the use of digital clones, which is something I've become very excited about in just the last few weeks. And Tim, let's give people one last opportunity. If they're interested in finding out more from you and getting years and years worth of your consultation for really only a small, tiny amount of money, which is what a book costs. I still think books are the best value ever. They can check out your book. So one is Social Selling: Techniques to Influence Buyers and Changemakers, which is available in the carousel right now with one click. You can also get Smarketing: How to Achieve Competitive Advantage Through Blended Sales and Marketing. Additionally, you can get Social Selling: Techniques to Influence Buyers and Changemakers. The second edition is out. Broader. What I'd like to do is just pull up your LinkedIn page, if you don't mind, and tell us what you're doing, if you don't mind, unless there's any reason.
Are you putting it up or am I?
Yeah, I'm gonna actually, it'll be easier for you to manipulate it and point to things. So if you could just hit the share button, the present button on the screen.
Yeah.
And the permission setting should be such that you can do that. And then we will just go ahead and put that full screen. Okay, so we're going to add that to the stage. We're going to make that full screen. And let me just do a quick check-in with our producer. Ben, everything else okay? I assume I got off of Amazon Live correctly. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct. Everything is okay.
Fantastic. Thanks for checking in. Okay, so Tim is going to sort of give a dissection of best practices regarding a LinkedIn page, because for most businesses, maybe Instagram works for you, maybe Twitch does, maybe not. But if for so many businesses, LinkedIn is a first among equals, I would assume you share that thought. So walk us through your page, what you're doing, why it's effective, and different things that sort of stand out that you think you're doing that most people are not.
Okay. So you can see my LinkedIn page.
Yes.
Okay. So let me walk through what a good LinkedIn page should look like and why. So first and foremost, you need to have a some sort of image at the top here. Now, the important thing is to remember this is your LinkedIn page. It's not your company's. As soon as you put a corporate banner at the top there, you immediately start looking like some sort of corporate robot. You know, what you need is to have you jet skiing or something about you, because this is your page. This is about how you're going to form a connection with me when I come and land on it. You need to have an image where if we were at a networking event or something where you could look at my LinkedIn page and you can get an idea about what I look like. It shouldn't be you holding a glass of wine. I know that you feel that that's social, but it shouldn't be you sitting on a horse 100 yards away. This is about having an image that I can see. The reason why I have these Chinese characters on my name is it because people come to me and say, why have you got Chinese characters after your name? And at that point, I'm in a conversation. So this is what I'd said earlier on about how can we use social media in a way that's actually going to be working for us 24 hours a day, 366 days a year, that's actually going to form conversations.
And for some people looking on smaller screens, they can't necessarily see all the details, but you have 34,000 followers,
yeah,
which is very, very impressive.
Thank you.
If you could talk about that as you walk your way through this.
Yeah. So the next important thing is about your summary title. So if you Google me, say it doesn't matter who it is. If someone Googles you, there'll be three things that they'll see. They'll see your photo from LinkedIn. They'll see your name from LinkedIn, and they see this summary title. Google loves LinkedIn because of the fact it's full of content. So if you go to Google, what Google's trying to do is pull back the piece of content that's most likely to match the search criteria. What your title should do is get someone to say, that's interesting. The big mistake that people make, and this is something that a lot of LinkedIn trainers teach, is that they say it should be what you do. That is not correct. What you're trying to do is actually get people to actually come to your profile and read more. The reason why it shouldn't be what you do, I get a lot of people coming to me and their summary title will say, I teach CEOs, or I help CEOs with their accounting. Now, I already have an accountant. So I know that person is going to come to me and they're going to try and pitch me accountancy services. I just press ignore. I get people coming to me saying, I help CEOs with their fitness. And I ignore. So if you put what you do in there, it's a massive error. One of the things that you need to do, and going to your point, TJ, is that this is a social network. It's about connecting to people. The bigger the wider and the broader the network that you have, the better results that you're going to get. The important thing is, especially when you're using whatever platform it is not to go to people and immediately spam them and say, this is my product or service. You need to understand that this is about them. For them to invest in a connection with you, you need to be interested in them. So let's just down here, there's one of my team here, Alex Abbott. If I wanted to connect with Alex, the thing is I need to do is go to him and say, I've read your profile and I think it's really interesting, or I've read this blog and I found this thing particularly interesting. The important thing is that you're talking about them, not yourself. Salespeople usually talk about themselves. It's not about them. It's about the client. So that's really important to actually increase your network. The bigger the network you have, the more reach you have. The other thing here is your about section. This is not about your company or your products. This is about you. This is the first thing. If I'm looking down your profile, this is the thing that will stand out. What is it that you're going to say that's going to connect me that's going to say, I understand that you're an expert, but I also understand that you are a human being yourself. So what you're doing is that you're writing in this about section. It's not about your company or products. It's about who you are, what your interests are. And then what you'll find is that there are, you will have certain company posts. So if you want to talk about who you are, who your company is, and the products are, you do that within your experience section. And then also what you have is your activity. So here are some of the blogs. So for example, this blog, this piece of content here is the interview with TJ Walker that we've been live streaming from TJ's StreamYard to my LinkedIn. Does that give you a very quick overview, TJ?
Yes, fantastic tips, because I'm almost ashamed of my LinkedIn page, which we're not going to go there right now. But I do want to pick your brain and your expertise and unfairly take advantage of you, because I know you normally would charge tens of thousands of dollars for this. I want a critique of a new, I think, social media tool I'm using. Ben, I need you to pull up or find the link for me of our new training webinar, free communication skills training webinar. Little background, Tim. I went into one of these. I've been following all these gurus on how you use basically long YouTube ads to lead people to a long form free webinar on something, which really is just disguised to get people to a funnel into taking a call with you where you talk to them for an hour and then sell them on a hybrid coaching plan. A lot of people do this very well and very successfully. And I spent a lot of time and money and effort, and I felt a little cheesy and sleazy about it, because you lead people in sort of, the standard advice is promise them the solution to all these problems. Then when you get them there, you talk about all their pain points and you agitate, talk about pain. You talk broadly about the solution. And then you say, but your particular situation is so unique and different and special. I can't give you generic information for you. Call me and I'll talk to you about it. And then that gets people in. So I'm not condemning people who do it. I tried it, and for us, it generated a lot of calls. And I would say 90% of the people who booked calls, confirmed call, just never showed up. Those who did, it just wasn't in alignment. They were looking for something that was, I don't know, $99, and our price was $5,000 for this blended coaching program.
Yep.
So, and we sold a few, and the people we sold it to loved the program, but I couldn't figure out how to scale it. Therefore, it just didn't seem to work. So I came up with something completely. And Ben, I see you've posted this, but now I forgot how I can click on it or capture it to then pull it up on another screen. Ben, if you could just email it to me, that's going to be the easiest way for it. So I did a completely different webinar. I did an anti-sales webinar, sales webinar. So I created recently a video where I say, look, I know I'm supposed to hit all your pain points and do all these things to get you on a sales call and seem like I'm actually going to teach you communication skills, but I'm actually going to just give you all my expertise here and teach you, and you don't have to buy anything. You're going to learn a lot. And the reason I'm going to do it is there's a certain percentage of you, maybe it's 1%, are going to say, okay, that's helpful, but I want something more in-depth, in-person training, a speech, a seminar, a webinar, a live session on Zoom for training. And if you want it, it's all right here in the bottom, but you can just keep on listening. And so I didn't do all the fear I really just gave them a training as if they had paid for a full day with me. Now it's 75 minutes long. So we did it maybe 6 weeks ago. we are connecting it to pages that give content about basically all my services, because like a lot of people, I package my expertise and sell it in different ways. And, sometimes people want a day of me, and that's one price. Sometimes they may want a week. Sometimes they may want Zoom session with one of my other trainers, or they don't have a certain budget and they want to come to a public workshop, which my company does. I don't personally do those. We have webinars, we have books. So we're violating some of the standard marketing rules, which is, a confused customer never buys. Give them one option, or at most three. I was doing that and just didn't enjoy it. And what I found is even the people we did sell using what most of the gurus say you should do now, it took 2 separate Zoom calls, which to me meant if it's taking me, and I'm the expert on this, 2 separate Zoom sales calls to close something for $5,000, there's no way I'm going to be able to scale that, hire other closers to do it, because they're not going to, if it's going to take them 2 different calls, it's too unwieldy. It's got to be something they can actually sell. So just giving you a little bit of the history there of the mindset of why I came up with this particular strategy. So I want to just show you briefly the beginning of this video. And Ben, were you able to email that to him? There we go. I see it now. So I'm going to pull this up a minute. And I put, okay. So there's a couple of different entry points. And I'm going to want your opinion on this. So let me go ahead and share the screen. Again, for those of you just joining us, hi, I'm TJ Walker. This is the TJ Walker Success Show. This is where we teach you how to be more successful in life by improving your communication skills and by boosting your confidence in your communication skills. So that's what we're about here. And we're very happy to have a special guest, Tim Hughes. Oh, I've just gone fuzzy. Sometimes I have to go to a different camera, and we do go to, sometimes if I'm demonstrating things, Tim, we go to a wider shot, different camera angles here. But for whatever reason, occasionally the camera blurs out. So I have to go to a different camera angle. Sorry about that. So because we help people with all aspects of communication, we bring in specialized guests like Tim Hughes, who is an internationally renowned expert on helping people sell socially through social media, and is the author of Social Selling: Techniques to Influence Buyers and Changemakers, Smarketing: How to Achieve Competitive Advantage Through Blended Sales and Marketing. Also, he's just recently launched the 2nd edition of Social Selling: Techniques to Influence Buyers and Changemakers. So I'm going to share with you what I'm doing, and I want honest feedback. I want you to tell me what I'm doing wrong or how I can do it better. So I'm going to share my screen. So I'm basically promoting this thing 2 ways. At the end of our social media posts, our videos, short form videos and long form videos, starting probably today, we are going to say, hey, if you want to learn more about how to be a better communicator, come to my free webinar, my free communication skills webinar. That's what we're going to be doing. So it would take people to this page.
Yep.
Now, what I'm doing here is I am trying to get them excited about what they learn. They'll see it's a video. If they post that, it's not. So how can you become a better communicator? I guess it's because I've already plugged in. What we really wanted was, it takes them to this page, they hit play, and that's where it asks them for their email. Excuse me, just their email. And I believe their first name. So what I try to do in here is to really be sort of an anti-sales webinar where I'm really just educating people. Did you hear the first word on that when I played it? Let me hit play again. I just want to make sure I hit the button correctly.
You said that you were TJ Walker.
Quick win. Cheat. That's right. If you're nervous about, are you hearing the audio?
Yes.
Okay. So I want to just play like a minute of this. Okay, what I'm trying to do is really hook people in with value, give them a sense of, okay, I'm really learning something here. And part of the reason I'm doing that is I did a video 10 years ago where it was basically just a data dump. It's everything I ever say about media training. And I just talked for an hour. And I'm ashamed to say I didn't have the mic on the right way. The audio has a crackle in it. Zero special effects, zero editing, zero graphics, zero music, zero. It's just me talking about media training. And it gets views every day to this day. It gets me leads every day because people come in, they feel like they learned so much about media training because I basically gave away the store, shared every secret. And that has gotten me more than 100,000 views. But more important is it brings in prospects in a way a lot of my much better produced videos really don't. So that's a part of my thinking here. And again, all I'm trying to do is to get people to watch this and feel like, okay, I'm not watching a sales pitch. I'm actually learning. Let me listen more. And then I think halfway through and then towards the end, I say, look, if you want more, I got more here below. Check it out. So I have it on a sales page on tjwalker.com. But as of today, we've just released the video. We've taken it from unlisted on YouTube to public. So we're going to be pushing, trying to get organic reach on it. And then people will be able to see in the description the links to our various programs. So let me just play a minute of it and get a little bit of your feedback on this tactic, whether you think I'm barking up the wrong tree or the right tree. So let me expand again. And going into a presentation, a talk, a briefing, a speech, you're not quite sure what you're going to say, do what I do. And you know what? I wanted to play it just from the beginning. So I'm trying to make it more like one of my courses where I just hop right in. And it's none of this, hello, how are you? And here's my name and here's my title. I just try to give people value. So I'm structuring it as a communication skills masterclass. And there are obviously other people doing this, but they're really just very, very thinly disguised sales pitches. And this is, I think, 97% pure focus on helping you build skills. So how can you become a better communicator right away? Here's a quick win. Cheat. That's right. If you're nervous about going into a presentation, a talk, a briefing, a speech, you're not quite sure what you're going to say, do what I do. I have a cheat sheet. Everything I'm going to say for the next hour is all right here. Now, the beauty of this is it's a single sheet of paper. If I'm speaking on camera, I can just put it in front of my laptop, in front of my computer. No one sees it. If I'm speaking to a larger audience and perhaps walking around, or even if I'm in a big room in front of a large audience, I can have that one sheet of paper on a table. I can have it on top of a laptop. I can have it scattered out several. So that's all we'll watch of that. But I wanted to get a sense from you of whether you think this will be effective or not, because again, I'm trying to back away from this strategy that a lot of people are giving coaches like me, which is don't try to sell different things. Just focus on one really high-end, scalable coaching program. And I just found for what I do, it just doesn't work for most of my prospects. And the sales process was too complicated. So I am essentially casting a wider net here. And as you can see right at the beginning, what I try to do there that people tend to like in my online courses is I try to give them something of value right away where they're thinking, oh, I didn't know that. People really like the idea of a simple cheat sheet and not a full script and not memorizing it. So I wanted to hook them thinking it's interesting and then just give them real value. what I've found from personal experience is sometimes people will come to my content, learn a lot, but they're 20 years old and have zero income. 3 years later, they're working in a company. Now they have an opportunity to access my courses through what their company is paying for some corporate program. And they talk about me, recommend me to others. They use a whole lot of minutes and I get revenue. So it pays off long run that way. So I'm just wondering if you have any other thoughts on this format of using long form video training webinars to bring you. My other question for you is my dress. The reason I'm wearing a suit and tie, I didn't for years, is that when we started pushing out a lot of content in the last year, it was my content where I was wearing a suit and tie that would get thousands of views. And when I'm dressed casually, as I typically would do here in Florida where it's really hot, didn't get views. Some have said, oh, you look too stuffy and too corporate. It seems to be what people like. So if I could get your opinion on those two things.
Just following up, Elizabeth likes the cheat sheet hook.
Yeah, thank you, Elizabeth.
What I would say is that you're the brand. So people are interested in TJ Walker because we're interested in TJ Walker. I happen to like the suit, but I'm a bit of I like suits.
And this is a Savile Row Taylor who made
I think that I think you look good in a suit, TJ. And so one of the things that I would say is that people don't like funnels. Mm-hmm. We've all been in that situation where we've gone to a website and we've given our email, and immediately our phones rung with somebody basically trying to sell us something, or we're on this email and we can't get rid of it and it just keeps appearing. Mm-hmm. And so none of us like that. But of course, what we do is when we think that whenever we need to move to something to market, we need to be doing that. Mm-hmm. Certainly in Europe, nobody. The only place that does funnels is North America. Nobody does it in Europe. Mm-hmm. So if you're trying to sell into Europe, it's a massive. People just don't do that in Europe. I think it's just what happens.
If I could get one point of clarification.
Yeah.
I don't disagree with anything you've said.
Yeah.
Is it instantly too funnily if you say, I want your email before I give you this thing of value? Can you ask it one time to give something of perceived value, or is even that too much of an ask?
Well, if you think I can go to LinkedIn and I can look at, so for example, the people that are watching this on my LinkedIn profile, I'm not asking for any emails. Mm-hmm. What will happen is that Elizabeth is going to basically like and has commented on this, and I know who Elizabeth is because she's liked or commented on my LinkedIn post. So if I want to, I now can go and look at Elizabeth's LinkedIn profile. If she's a ideal customer profile for me, I probably will try and build connect to her so she's in my network. And then maybe I may be trying to get a conversation with her. One of the things about websites you need to be aware about is that what you're doing is that most people now are in LinkedIn, are on social media. As soon as you say go to my website, what you're doing is that you're sending them to something else. So if you think about Facebook, LinkedIn, they're all walled gardens.
And they don't like you sending anyone.
They don't like you sending you to other, but in a way, from a psychology perspective, neither does the buyer. The buyer actually likes stuff within the walled gardens. So you just need to be. There's a lot of people that will say, I have an external blog or I have an external website or something, and the issue is that as soon as you say you need to go somewhere else, you'll get people saying, I'm not going to do that. Mm-hmm. I want to consume. The great thing about StreamYard is that you're getting people to consume this content in the platform that they want to basically consume it in. I'm not saying what you're doing is it. I like the video. I like you have a very energetic, affable style which actually brings people together. It's a very warm style. We know that you're selling, but we had the cheat sheet is people go, oh yeah, I never thought about that. That's a really and so what you've immediately done is given them an idea, and we know that because we've had at least one person, Elizabeth, say, I like the cheat sheet hook.
Mm-hmm.
And she's also said, yes, give me one thing to look at, one thing to click. Exactly.
Yeah. So I'm all in favor of, I buy into your concept
Thanks,
of keep people on a site, give them value there. I currently post about 100 different pieces of video content on a month on every social media platform.
Wow.
The video you just saw is available for free. You don't have to give an email if you find it on my YouTube channel, if you find it on YouTube. But what I am trying to figure out is with putting out all this content, maybe I don't do it on every video. Maybe every 10th video, I say, hey, join me for my free masterclass. Go to tjwalker.com, where it's taking them to one place where they can learn about these other things. Because I kind of, to my knowledge, I'm giving away more free, high quality content about communication skills than anyone in the world, or at least in the English speaking world. So if someone wants free stuff, I kind of feel like I'm doing that. So kind of back to the Gary Vaynerchuk, jab, 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 jab. What is it? 8 jabs and 1 right hook. I'm giving an awful lot out there for free. Here's one time when I'm sort of asking you, give me a name and email so we can maybe take this and I can make you aware of these other things I'm doing that might not have occurred to you. Do you still think I'm on the wrong track, or what would you do if you were me?
No, I don't think that you're on the wrong track. I think that that there's nothing wrong. People know that you're trying to sell something, and there's nothing wrong in doing what you're saying, which is that what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you a piece of value. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you about the cheat sheet hook, and then at the end of the video, say, if you want to know more, give me your email, and people will decide at that point whether they want to do that or not. They know what's coming. I think probably you need to say, if you give me your email, I'm not going to sell it, or throw lots of emails at you. But there's nothing wrong with having a video and then having some call to action at the end and saying, fill in the email. But if you've got a number of videos where you say, here's my cheat sheet, here's something else, it's good stuff.
Uh-huh. Well, thanks. Our guest today, Tim Hughes, is based in the United Kingdom and is an expert on social selling. Tim, what is your advice to Americans who would like to sell to Europe? Because different culture, different market. Full disclosure, I've done an awful lot of work in Europe over the last 20 years, but it's mostly come through the United Nations, not always, but mostly in governments, people who found me through a representative in New York or somewhere. I haven't been that successful selling directly to that many companies or individuals in the United States. What do you think people who are Americans, think about if they're trying to expand into Europe?
I think they need to leave their funnels at home. I don't know about. I'm not American. I've spent time in America, but no one in Europe is fooled by this thing that's a funnel, and people seem to be obsessed with it. And suddenly, in Europe, we know what's coming, and we're not fooled by it.
So so Americans hearing that say, okay, so how do I get people to call me?
Well, I think that you're going down a useful road, which is what I want to do is I want to understand first and foremost, if I'm going to trust you, first and foremost, I want to understand that you're an expert. So I want you to share with me your expertise. I try and avoid using the word value, because value means it means different things to different people. And I've had people say to me, yeah, but I'm sharing value. I said, it's a brochure you're sharing. Yeah, but it's what we're selling is really important, and someone will want to read a brochure. No, they don't. So there's this, people quite often think that value is somehow is intrinsic because it's part of the sales process. We don't need brochures. We don't have brochures as a company. If someone says to me, I need a brochure, either I'm not going to sell to you, or I'm going to say, well, let's have a call. So we don't have any brochures because we don't need them. And so what we're trying to do is that we have a website, but we don't use it a lot. We just have it there. It's been there for 4 years. We don't see website as being something that we particularly want to drive people through. As a social organization, what we do is everything that we do is on social media. So what I'm trying to do is the reason why I say to everybody, come to my LinkedIn profile, is because I want people to come to my LinkedIn profile. Because because I've got professional edition, LinkedIn shows me all the people that have come to my LinkedIn profile. I can then basically pick and choose and say which one of these people are my ideal customer profile, my ICP. Therefore, which are the people I need to be connected to, and then which of those people I'm going to try.
So walk us through that. You'll see if someone comes to your LinkedIn profile but didn't necessarily want to connect to you.
Yes.
Do you then go to them, and if it seems like a good prospect, do you actually say, hey, I see you stopped by. Thanks for stopping by. Nice to meet you. Or how do you do it in a way that doesn't seem like you're stalking them?
So if you have a professional edition of LinkedIn, it shows you who's come to your profile. Probably 25% of my speaker stuff comes through that. So if you think about what happens when people are running a conference, that they'll say to somebody, go and find us 10 speakers. So they'll go out onto LinkedIn and they'll look at 20 people for 10 speakers. I don't know, it's more than 10 speakers. And they've looked at all of those people's LinkedIn profiles. And I just go back to the person. I know the type of person that generally is looking for speakers. And you just go back to them and say, I'm trying to find my notes to actually get you the exact words. What I'll do is I'll send them a connection request that says, thanks for looking at my LinkedIn profile. Hope you found what you were looking for. Not sure how you found me, but maybe we can connect.
Okay.
Nothing about the company, nothing about the products, nothing about can I sell you anything. It's about you obviously looked at my LinkedIn profile. Can I help you?
Yeah.
And most people, when you do it in that way, they will connect. Once they
Very
connect,
hard to imagine anyone being offended by that.
Yes, it's not like I'm coming to you and saying, here's a list of my products and services. Which one do you want to pick? Because you don't know at that point. There's some people that, where we say, why did you look at my profile? And I say, well, I was looking for someone called Tim Hughes, and it's not you. You don't know the reason why the person is looking at you. But what you're doing in terms of asking that question is that you're soliciting an answer where someone says, well, I actually was searching for you, or I was searching for someone that does this. You're actually, by asking them a question, what will happen is that generally they will actually give you the information. And then what you're doing is that you're trying to take that initial contact through to some level of conversation, which when I mean a conversation, you're going to take a direct message or DM conversation through to the point where you say, well, let's get on a call and have a chat.
And how much time does that take? I mean, a typical day, would you get maybe 50 people who've looked, and you're thinking 25%? So 18 of them, you would give them this one response back. And now, because you're in the professional version, you can send them a message without like requesting to connect with them.
Yeah. The free version now isn't. I mean, I think you can only send like 5 connection requests or something with the free version. It's just not worth having. You got to pay for the. So I can tell you exactly. So we now get. So LinkedIn allows you with the professional edition to send 200 connection requests a week. So that's 200 opportunities for you to have a conversation. We now get a.
And I apologize, just so I'm understanding.
Yeah.
You see that someone who looks like a good, someone who's head of a speakers bureau, you think, oh, this is a good prospect. You see they stopped by. Do you then send them a connection request as well as your message saying, hey, I see you stopped by. I don't know what you're looking for, but
Okay,
if I can
so
help you.
we don't use in-mails at all. We don't use in-mails at all. Because most people who use in-mails, most in-mails that come my way are basically people trying to sell me stuff. So to look different, sorry LinkedIn, if you're because LinkedIn make, I don't know, I can't remember how many billion they make from in-mails. We don't use them at all, and we will teach people how to generate business without using them.
And I'm sorry, how are you communicating with them?
So what we're doing, we always send a connection request. So when I said I send a message, it's a connection request to the person saying, thanks for looking at my profile. And
so
you
the
do
connection request gives you a chance to put in a message, but that's not considered in-mail. And forgive me, my lack of knowledge about LinkedIn. In-mail is something else?
Yeah, so in-mail is something that allow on the LinkedIn pro platform that allows you to send basically unsolicited. So it's basically cold calling on a social network. I can send anybody a message saying buy my product or whatever it is. So what we recommend is what as an individual you want to do is you need to be bringing more and more people into your circle of network. Because the more that people that can see, the more that you have in your network, the more basically that can see your content. Now, the other thing about LinkedIn is that when you scroll through your timeline, what it presents to you is content from your network, but it also presents content from your network's network. It does that because what it's trying to do is for you to go, oh, look, that's TJ Walker. That's really interesting. I'm not connected to him. Let me connect. So what they're doing is that they're using that as a way of basically getting people to connect. What you're able to do is the more people you connect to, the more network that you grow. But that means that your content is going to be seen not only by your growing network, but by your network's network as well. So the average person on LinkedIn has about 930 connections. Your network's network is, someone can do the maths, but I think it's something like 800,000. So it's 930 times 930. So think about that as in effect an email list of something like 800,000. So your ability to actually influence and move that out. So what we're doing is if someone comes to my LinkedIn profile, they're probably there for a particular reason. So what I do is I send them a connection request, which is the thanks for looking at my LinkedIn profile. Hope you found what you were looking for. Not sure how you found me, but maybe we can connect. At that point, a person will probably 99% sure that they'll probably connect with me. And then we're into a conversation, a direct message or a DM conversation. My job as a salesperson is to move that into a Teams or a Zoom situation. So you asked me for figures. So we now get 40 when we're so from the 200 connections that you can send a week, we're transforming 40% of those into a conversation. So that's a Zoom or a Teams conversation. So as I said earlier on, the SDRs, our team on average, the average SDR will get 10 meetings a week. The really good ones again get 25. They complain they've got too many meetings, that they don't actually have enough time to do the prospecting.
And how much of your time is spent doing these initial connections, and then they write back and, oh, Tim, yeah, I'm looking for a speaker for our conference in Berlin. How much of your time is spent every day on LinkedIn?
So I run a small business. I'm a CEO of a small business. It's my job to prospect just as much as it is for my salespeople as well. I have to do that. And partly because I run a social, everything that we do is on social. So I spend the whole of my day on social. Now, as a salesperson, quite often we get asked that, and the answer will be, well, you need to be spending 30 minutes at least. Then it's, we'll be saying you need to be spending an hour. Once people actually go through our social selling training and coaching, and they come out the other end, they understand the reason why they need to be spending all of their time on social. If your buyers, your customers, your employees, your investors are on social, that's where you need to be.
Let me ask you a quick best practice.
Yeah.
If someone reaches out to you and friends you, and they're trying to sell a database, nothing wrong with that. They're trying to sell you, and right away it's, hey, I see you do this. I'd like to talk to you about blah, blah, blah. I can generate more leads for you. Can we have a meeting? What is your standard operating procedure of accepting? Does it help to just have a wider network, or should you just say no to most people unless you think it's really a good strategic fit for you?
If the person is trying to pitch to me, and I don't see any value in what they're trying to pitch, I just ignore it, and I just press the ignore button, and they go away. And so that's my, what I'm looking for in terms of my network are people, first and foremost, that I can sell to, because I'm a salesperson. So I'm looking for ICP people to connect to, but I'm also looking for people, you're an example, TJ Walker, you're an influencer. And therefore what I want to do is make sure that I'm standing next to you, because what you'll find is that people are connection snobs. I'm not sure if the word snob means anything in the States. So what happened is that people will
they judge you by the company you keep in real life and online.
Yes. So what happens is that a connection request will come across, and you'll immediately go, so who are my mutual connections? Oh, this person's connected to TJ Walker. They've obviously, wow, I
must be a classy guy.
Yeah. I already trust them. They probably wear a suit, and but if they're connected to people that you don't necessarily know, or you have no mutual connections, you'd immediately say, so who is this person? Because ultimately what you're doing is that by connecting to them, you're allowing them into your world. It's a bit like opening the front door and saying, do you want to come in? And if you go, so who do you know? Well, I know Brian Solis. I know I'm connected to Mark Schaefer. I know Brian Fanzone.
I've spoken at conferences with Brian Solis.
Yeah, and he's a brilliant. So if if immediately you're connected to all of these people, you go, well, I'll open the door and let them in.
So here's my dilemma. I would like your advice on it. One of the problems with my business, there's good news and bad news. The good news is everyone in the world has to communicate through speaking at some level on a daily basis. Retired billionaires have to order their staff and servants around. Homeless have to make speeches begging for money. Everyone needs to know how to communicate better and has some insecurity about some situation. So if someone reaches out to me and they are a salesperson, well, quite often organizations hire me to train their salespeople on how to get better sales presentations. So and perhaps it's the wrong thing to do. I've just erred on the side of, okay, since everyone is a potential prospect of mine, every human being has to speak, I just accept, because you never know, planting seeds, a bigger audience, more social proof. But that may be a horrible strategy. So I would love to know your thoughts on that.
So one of the things that we teach people, it's in the third session, which is we sit down with them and say, and we do a brainstorm. And we say, okay, what is it that the people that you want to buy, what are their problems?
Mm-hmm.
And we sit down and we basically write those things down. And then we say, okay, so what your buyers, if they went to Google, what would they search on?
Mm-hmm.
And it may be words, it may be phrases. And usually we get people saying, for example, Salesforce is a client of ours, and quite often you'll get a salesperson saying, digital transformation. You say, yeah, okay, go to Google, put in digital transformation, you'll see that there's 3.5 billion pages. So you're not going to stand out. And you also need to put yourself in the buyer's shoes. So, for example, we had someone come to us saying, we're looking for programmatic social selling. And we said, yeah, we do that. It's programmatic. You follow a number of steps. And they said, well, we searched for you on Google for programmatic social selling and didn't find you. And I said to my business partner, Adam Gray, yeah, I bet we never thought of that as a search term. So you need to really, really think about this hard. Now, you can use ChatGPT to do this. There are certain websites that will do this, but you still need to. There still needs to be a human element. ChatGPT doesn't give you all of the answers; it will give you some of the answers, and some of that you can check. Now, what you're doing at that point is as soon as you sit down and you work that out, there's a number of benefits that you get from that. First and foremost, you've got a content plan. So every single line where you said, this is a problem, 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 you basically need to create a piece of content. And if you are using YouTube, you need to make sure that to make sure to get subscribers and get people to your videos, you need to have all of those videos, even if that's not what you're trying to sell. You're using those videos in effect to provide the keywords that people will search on to come to your YouTube channel. The other thing is that what I've just said is the keywords. It's important that on every single platform that you're on, social media platform, that those keywords are in your platform. So, for example, when you write, if you've got on your LinkedIn profile, all of those things that you've written down are basically sprinkled through the platform. You don't need to put them in the summary or the title, which is what some LinkedIn trainers tell you to do. It's rubbish. The way that Google sees LinkedIn is basically a string of text. And so you need to have those there. So from a way, how can I attract people to me? Those some of the things that you need to think about. So it's about doing the brainstorm, having the videos and the content, both written and video, and the keywords. Clearly, if you do videos, you can get you can get AI to basically take the written word and turn that into a written piece. But those are the things you need to do if you want to basically get people to come to you.
And let's talk about AI. That really leads me to the final section I want to cover with you. I want to be respectful of your time. We really appreciate the insights you've been so kind to share with us. I want to know what you're most excited about. What I have become, and you can tell me to my face I'm completely wrong or off based, or I'm a stupid American or something. But I've spent a tremendous amount of time, certainly in the last month and really in the last week, diving into the use of artificial intelligence to create digital clones as a form of communication and as a communication tool. And I now have a clone where it's cloned my voice, and I would say it's about 95% there. It does not sound like a robot like you can tell it's not me, but it sounds 95% like me. And with the current status of cloning with the services I've provided is you type in a question and it will give an answer just like I would give if I were there, although probably better and certainly much faster. You can push a button, and I will talk to you. You'll hear my voice talking to you, and it sounds like me.
Yeah.
And then the third option, which is coming on one consumer platform I'm using called Delphi.ai, is it's going to be a video, and it inputs. Right now, I have about 5 million words of my content from books, blog posts. It's transcribed YouTube videos. It's ingested 6,000 of my videos. And I can ask it a question, and it's giving really detailed responses. Now, I don't think anything is going to replace an actual human being. But the idea of this perhaps being 1,000 times better than an online course. I mean, I see behind you, you have a sort of the film reel, and I'm sure
it's a reel-to-reel tape recorder.
Yeah. Okay. But certainly, people who follow the history of film. When film came out, people's whole mindset was, oh, we can now film a play. So it would be a movie, but it would look just like a play. People couldn't quite conceptualize, oh, a movie can be this whole different art form. It's completely different than what plays are like today. And I've spent a lot of time grappling with this recently, is if a clone can do this, it could mean if you want to improve your speaking skills, you don't have to buy one of my online courses and see 600 lectures and sort of weed through the outline and go in a linear way, the way I've planned it. You could just talk to my clone and say, hey, TJ, I've got to give a sales presentation to 5 clients in the IT industry next week by Zoom, and they do this. What's your recommendation? And you could pull out all of my years of expertise in a text form or me speaking to you, telling you, here's exactly what I would do if I were you. Put together a summary, an outline, hit record, practice it, and I'll give you a feedback. Now, the feedback part isn't there yet, as far as the AI clone being able to discern the vocal intonations and all that. But my understanding is it will be by the end of the year. So I'm just wondering what your thoughts are about. The other beauty of the clones is now anyone in the world could write with me a question or ask a question in their language. I could respond in their language. So it completely eliminates language barriers. And really, for the first time ever, it could turn communication into a one-on-one conversation. The problem with videos is it's a linear thing. It doesn't stop and answer a question right away. So I'm wondering if you and your clients are spending much time thinking about the use of AI clones, especially the audio and the video versions.
So most of my clients are still wrapped up in using ChatGPT.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they've got to the point where they think that ChatGPT is a magic answer, and it's not. So, for example, we work with an organization I will come to your clones question, where they wanted to do all their account planning in ChatGPT, and they found that it took longer than doing it manually, because they were basically having to feed it in and then changing the prompt and feeding it in and then taking that answer and feeding it back. And I think that they got through that process and they actually thought, this is a heap of shit. In terms of your clones question, I actually have one of my team that's actually built this. His name is Alex. So he's actually building what he calls Alex.ai, which is, you just basically described what that is. Well, it's in effect at the moment, it's a large language model, so like ChatGPT. He's training it on the blogs and the videos, and so ultimately it would be a social selling and a sales expert, and you would be able to ask it questions like ChatGPT, but because it's trained on those things, it will give a far more focused a response. I think it's an interesting future.
Mm-hmm. Is it something you anticipate using yourself for your own business?
Yeah, well, Alex, we will use that for what Alex is generating. So Alex is he's got that within the there's some Microsoft AI program that he's basically program as in startup program that he's basically got himself into. So yes, certainly, absolutely, and I think that I've made a note of Delphi because I'm going to go and have a look at that.
And
yeah,
again, I don't know if they're the best one. I did a lot of research. They're the ones I found. I've built a clone on it now. And I mean,
if you've done that, I mean, that's interesting. And I think it's something. So digital twins is ultimately your profile on social media is your digital twin. This is about you, who you are, what you stand for, your interests, etc. This is kind of an extension of that. And AI is moving at a pace where we're not getting like an update on AI every year. It's not every month, it's every week. And, it's like, it's like nearly every day or every hour. So I can see this is the way that this is going to go forward. And to everybody out there, my advice is to experiment. And I think it's great, TJ, that you've taken the leap and are actually experimenting in it. Even if it doesn't work, you can say that you've experimented. I think the worst thing that you can do is not experiment with it.
Here to that. I mean, I started experimenting with online training in 1998.
Wow.
Guess what? Big mistake. Way too early.
I was going to say that was probably a bit early. Yeah.
It was too early, but I think, again, I don't mean to sound like I'm this big accolade and worshiping at the altar of Gary Vaynerchuk, but he does talk about this a lot, which is you got to experiment with everything. And people say, well, how do you know if it's like the next Vine or Vidler and goes out of business? Like, you don't. But also, if you're not in it experimenting, when it takes off, you'll never, ever, ever hit one when it does take off.
He tells a story about he did a lot of work with Snapchat.
Mm-hmm.
And he came, he said, I'm going all in on Snapchat. And then 18 months later, he dropped Snapchat. Mm-hmm. And he said, well, yeah, okay. So I did Snapchat for 18 months, but in those 18 months, I learned a lot about video, how to create short form video, videos that people will watch. So he said that it's not that I wasted my time by doing stuff on Snapchat. I still came away with learnings that I've then taken on to new things.
Yeah. Well said. Tim Hughes, thank you for being our guest today. If you want more Tim Hughes, check him out on LinkedIn. Now, what do you do? It does raise a question. What do you do when you have a relatively common name? No offense against us Tims. Is it harder for people to find you on LinkedIn? If you meet someone at a marketing event, a convention or a conference, I assume you're not giving out business cards. What do you do with people who have common names? Because I've had people say, "Oh, I can't even find a TJ Walker on LinkedIn." Sometimes there's so many.
God, I've never been asked that before. I've tried to set myself apart by having my name as Timothy Tim Hughes. So I'm picking up people that are searching on Timothy, which is what my mum calls me. And I apologize. Sometime I will let you go today, but I was going to do the whole verification thing on LinkedIn, and I started it, and it says you have to have a government ID verifying the name you have on your account. Well, my name, I go professionally by TJ Walker. Well, my full name is Timothy John Walker. I couldn't figure out what to do at that point, so I gave up. What did I do wrong? So to have they keep nagging me about verifying my name. It's what they want is you have to have the name that's on your passport. And so my name on my passport is Timothy Hughes, but I don't want to use that on LinkedIn.
Yeah, that's what I faced. So did you get around that, or what happened? No. So you're not verified, and that's not a problem.
No, it's one of the things is that LinkedIn don't like people changing. So there's one person that basically had a rainbow between their name. So LinkedIn basically said you've got to take the rainbow away. So they changed their name by default. So their name is first name rainbow, second name. So they then went back to LinkedIn and said, no, my name is rainbow. So they actually changed their name to the and it's LinkedIn's trying to, they don't like the fact that I've got they don't like the fact that I've got Chinese characters after the name.
Yeah.
What they want is the name that's on your passport.
Yeah, they also seem really weird about middle names. If I plug in someone's middle name, it just seems like, whoa, it seems like I broke the whole system. And I don't know if I'm doing something wrong, but what happens when you plug in someone's middle name? I just find it goes completely on LinkedIn when I'm doing a search.
Yeah, because I think what it's trying to do is if you take Elizabeth, it will be trying to, it could be Betty Walker or Liz Walker or Beth Walker or And so, you know, there's Robert and Bob and stuff like that. So I think what
Yeah.
it's trying to do is it's kind of, and from a computer perspective, it's kind of going into that loop, and immediately it takes a couple of seconds to actually think
It
about
is a little tricky. Tim Hughes, thank you so much
You're
for
welcome.
the insights. We very much appreciate your time. Thanks so much. Take care.